Seth Bauer Show. Today we have prepared a special program for you. Does anyone know what happened 5 years ago on September 2nd? On this day, Japan had surrendered after the U.S. dropped 2 atomic bombs during World War II. First up, we have prepared a short video for you outlining the events that eventually led to the atomic bombings. Take a look.
It had started with the Epiphany, the one that would change lives forever. We had been experimenting for years on foreign items, trying to find their purposes. Then one day, we had to tell them before it was too late. The project was reluctantly approved by Franklin D. Roosevelt, started in Manhattan, New York, then finished in Los Alamos, New Mexico. The project was kept in top secret. So secret, in fact, that President Truman didn't even know about it until he became President Truman. Any exposure would lead the Axis powers towards similar ideas and would thus be a threat to the United States. Japan, in fact, did have similar ideas. After the success at the Trinity site, we started development on the 2 bombs that would be dropped in Japan, Little Boy and Fat Man. President Truman expressed his feelings on that day.
Nobody is more disturbed over having to use the atomic bomb than I am. My object is to save as many American lives as possible. For myself, I certainly regret being forced to use this atomic bomb, which will wipe out whole populations because of the pig-headedness of the leaders of a nation. And for your information, I was not going to do it until it became absolutely necessary. I know that Japan is a terribly cruel and uncivilized nation in warfare, but I can't bring myself to believe that, because they are beasts, we should ourselves act in the same manner.
The effects of the bombs were tragic. These effects proved to be long-lasting, as many people who live in Hiroshima are still suffering from radiation caused by the blast.
The atomic explosion achieved its results at Hiroshima by the release of energy in 3 forms: blast, heat, and radiation.
Now wasn't that an excellent documentary? Next up, we have a special guest, one of the main leaders of the Manhattan Project. Please welcome theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. Now first off, I just want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now most of us have no idea what the Manhattan Project was. Care to shed a little light on it?
Sure. The Manhattan Project started in 1939, and it was led by the United States General Leslie Groves. The Manhattan Project had many sites, but I was the lead chief officer in Los Alamos.
That is very interesting. I didn't know that the Manhattan Project was split up into different areas. What was the purpose of this project?
The Manhattan Project contained a scientific community that had worked on creating an atomic bomb after the Germans had split an atom in 1938. This project was so secretive that Truman did not even know about it until he became president.
I'm glad that I wasn't a part of that project. My mouth is as big as the Mississippi River. In all seriousness, though, were there any big names in this project? And when was your first test?
Well, some of the other leaders involved were Albert Einstein and Enrico Fermi. In fact, it was Einstein and Szilard that convinced FDR to allow our scientists to start working on the project. Our first test was near the Trinity site in New Mexico, and in our first test, the explosion was so powerful that the mushroom cloud reached 40,000 feet and turned the surrounding sand into glass.
That is very interesting, but unfortunately this is all the time we have left. We all appreciate the work that you and the others have done. Thank you for your time, Mr. Oppenheimer.
Oh, thank you.
Up next, we have yet another special guest, a man with a brilliant mind and a dear friend of mine, Albert Einstein. He has agreed to share his thoughts on the atomic bombs and provide insight on the makings of the atomic bombs. But first, let's go on a commercial break. here to educate us on the atomic bomb and its physics, along with people's justification for using it. Now, first off, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. Please give us a little insight on your thoughts on using the atomic bomb and why everyone felt they needed to use the atomic bomb.
Well,
how's this? Okay. Okay. Give me a clap. Welcome back. Here we have the renowned physicist Albert Einstein here to educate us on the atomic bomb and its physics, along with people's justification for using it. Now, first off, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Please give us a little insight on your thoughts on using the atomic bomb and why everyone felt it was necessary to use it.
well, people during that time had a lot of anger and resentment towards the Japanese for Pearl Harbor attack, but they also felt the atomic bomb was justified. Many believed that dropping the bombs will actually save the lives of the Japanese civilians, as many were actually malnourished and close to death due to food rationing.
It must have been very difficult for you to help create this devastating bomb that killed or wounded nearly 250,000 people. I can't imagine how you felt afterwards. Is it true that people thought that dropping the bombs would save not only Japanese lives, but also American lives?
Yeah, that's true. I was devastated after I saw the immense effect the atomic bomb had, though. If I would have realized this was going to happen, I would never have written that letter.
I agree, however, sometimes things have to be done in the sake of preserving our own nation. Please describe the differences in structure and physics of the two bombs.
Okay, no problem. To start with, both of the atomic bombs are operated using nuclear fission. Nuclear fission occurs when a neutron strikes the nucleus of either a uranium-235 or a plutonium-239 isotope, causing a large amount of energy to be released. This fission creates a chain reaction which causes more atoms to undergo fission, which causes a huge explosion.
Wow, it must be an incredibly tedious and lengthy process.
It was. It took us 8 years. Little Boy was built using a gun-type design that shot one amount of U-235 on another to combine the two masses, which set off a nuclear fission chain, which would eventually detonate the bomb. This was done quickly enough so the two masses didn't spontaneously fission, which would have led to no explosion. But unlike the gun-type method used by Little Boy, the Fat Man used an implosion method. This method used a series of perfectly timed explosions which continued to occur until the plutonium was so condensed that it reached a critical mass, causing an explosion.
Incredible. Sadly, we are out of time. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us this information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lastly, we have one more special guest. She is an actual survivor from Hiroshima, and she has agreed to come on the set and tell her story. But first, we have a short intercession. Don't go away.
Oh, hey, buddy! It's your great-granddad here. In case you haven't noticed, I'm kind of busy fighting for your freedom in this little thing called the Second World War. But now, you're using that freedom to hurl insults at celebrities on. Listen, hashtag, you're not gonna fight like a man, you at least shave like a man. Excuse me. Stop LOLing everything!